Welcome back. Today we heard opening statements in the case against Danielle Redlick, the woman accused of stabbing her stepfather turned husband. So for today's Talkback segment, we wanted to know, what do you think? Were these arguments made by the legal teams compelling? Who did better? Still with us, criminal defense attorney David Bruno. All right, David, let's start with our first comment of the day. It comes from Vicky, and she says, wow, her lawyer called her husband's stepdad authoritarian. And I'll bet he was. He was still in stepdad mode throughout the marriage, I'll bet, controlling and abusive. And David, this goes back to something we touched on a little earlier. That fact, the idea that he marries his stepdaughter, is going to make this victim not likable, and I think make jurors possibly more susceptible to believing the story that she wants them to believe, that he was controlling, that he was abusing her, and that he was not a very nice guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We pointed out in the first segment that we spoke, and that is the best fact for this defendant moving forward. But again, it's going to be a back and forth. Prosecutors are going to focus on the evidence and the crime and the cover-up and not calling the police, when the defendant wants to focus on the relationship and any prior abuse. And it's going to go back and forth. I think it's critical when she takes the stand, how she does, and whether the jury finds her credible or not.
Well, at the end of the day, do you think they might want to give her a pass because of the situation she was in? Like, if you give them enough as a defense attorney to hang their hat on, this idea that there was some mental illness, to explain her odd behaviors after the incident. She didn't know what to do. She was confused. But ultimately, will they want to give her a pass?
It's going to depend on the testimony of her, without a doubt. We've seen it in the last half year of court TV when we are assessing the credibility of a self-defense claim. And really, the credibility of this defendant is going to be at issue, because the jury's going to have to grapple with the subjective belief of the defendant in that particular time, and that belief to defend herself has to also be objective, meaning that a reasonable person would have felt the same way in the same situation. And the 11-hour delay is going to be the biggest problem for the defendant, no doubt.
Yeah, that 11 hours. And I think the kids, what they have to say about the whole thing, is going to be important, too. All right, final comment of the day. It comes from Monica. She says, this defense's opening statement is horrible. Make it stop. You know, when you compare the opening statements, any thoughts you might have quickly, David, on who presented a better opening statement?
Prosecutor. Prosecutor had the physical evidence. I mean, it's exactly how I would have opened as the prosecutor. You just get your facts out, you know, and they use that first day, too, for the crime scene, the bloody crime scene that was shown. And the defense is doing their job. They're doing what they need to do. And we'll see how this all plays out.
Yeah, it is about the crime scene, and that's what they focused on. All right, David Bruno, thank you so much for being with us. Truly appreciate it.